You're listening to Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College, WHPC 90.3.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you going to do? You're going to go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
WHPC. Welcome back to Your Family's Health. This is Dr. Jeanine Cook-Garard, and we're going to welcome our guest back, Dr. Shelley Uram. She is the author of Essential Living, A Guide to Having Happiness and Peace by Reclaiming Your Essential Self. Welcome back, Dr. Uram.
Thank you. You know, can I add one thing to what we just talked about?
Sure. Please do.
It's not as black and white as I just described. So if somebody rests their ladder on the wall of their core self, their essential self, okay, then, you know, if they identify and reconnect to their essential self, and they bring that to their external goals that we were talking about, like, you know, money, success, you know, profession, whatever, if they enter into those goals, those endeavors, and those goals as their essential self, those experiences can be profoundly rich. So this is not about excluding or pushing aside those external goals. It's more first things first, find out who you really are, you know, align your life with it, and then with that frame of reference, go for any goal you want.
I think that's so key. Sometimes we get into, I think, the whole process of chasing the dollar or chasing the career and the success, and you kind of lose yourself in the process. And so I'm hearing what you're saying in that you're taking your essential self to pursue the goals of success and money and all those other things that you want to pursue. That yourself, we have to continue to nourish ourselves. Is that right? Am I getting it?
You're close to it. It's not just nourishing. It's becoming, it's aligning our lives and our personalities with who we really are, more so than people-pleasing, culture-pleasing. It's we turn the spotlight of our attention from outside of us to inside of us. And then when we're coming from that stance, when we're coming from being who we really are, what I call the essential self in the book, you know, some people refer to it as a soul or the authentic self, then take a look at what you really want. So most people I know, when they first establish their goals, you know, success, money, family, whatever, you know, relationships, whatever it is, they're coming from their personality rather than who they really are, because who we are at our essential self tends to be very different than our personality. Okay, and then once we're re-identified with who we really are, then we can look at what do we really want in life. So I used to have certain financial goals. And then as I got more and more connected with who I really am and took a look at the financial goals, I still had financial goals, but they weren't certain numbers anymore because my sense of well-being did not depend upon really large numbers. Yeah. Because the self, when you become self-actualized, when you're really happy with who you are, you know, what you want from the outside world may change. It may not, but it may change.
Yeah. Is this guidance to reclaiming the essential self? Is this the same for everyone? Is the process the same for everyone?
It's not the same for everyone. It can be there's similar underlying themes. The goal is the same,
okay.
To reconnect with the essential self. But how we each do it, it depends where we're each coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So what I explain in the last third of the book, depending on where somebody is right now, which we'll call point A. So for you, Jeanine, your point A and my point A may be different.
Mm-hmm.
So we both may want to go to point B, which is, reconnecting with our essential self, our core self, or our soul. Okay, we both might, but it's important that we each know what our point A is so we can figure out how to get to point B. So, for example, like I told you, I grew up with a lot of psychological trauma, emotional trauma, and I go into a fair amount of depth in the book about, for so many people, if certain parts of their brain are overactive. So there's a part of the brain called the limbic brain, which has millions of functionings, but one of the key ones are strong emotions, strong emotional reactivity. So I had that. Mm-hmm. Now, to access the essential self, if the limbic brain, which is a major player in the survival, as a part of the survival brain areas, if that's not quieted down in somebody like me, where what we call fight, flight, freeze responses are just too strong,
mm-hmm.
If I don't quiet that down first, I can't really settle down into a state of calmness and peace that ultimately could take me to my essential self, or it's a part of my essential self.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to calm that down. Mm-hmm. There may be other people that don't have, an overabundance of fight, flight, freeze responses that have gotten locked in. And so they don't have to do what I may have to do. They may not have to calm down the limbic brain very
mm-hmm.
much at first.
Mm-hmm.
So I explain all that in the book about, depending on where you are at point A, can impact how you get to point B, which is reconnecting with the essential self.
So the time span where we get to the essential self may differ in terms of time also. It may take
yes.
me a month, a week, whereas another person, it may take them a year or
correct.
2.
That's correct. It may take years.
Yeah.
Now, but it's not a black and white thing.
Okay.
So it may be that, so for example, where I had a very, very overactive limbic brain, my limbic brain, brain areas were stuck in fear, flight, some fight. So I would experience a lot of anxiety, mainly a lot of anxiety, and things could trigger the anxiety pretty easily. So as I worked my way through that by quieting down that part of my brain, gradually I felt more and more and more peace,
mm-hmm.
More happiness and joy, more connectedness, a greater sense of freedom, which has just deepened and deepened and deepened
mm-hmm.
over time.
Mm-hmm.
So it may take me, a couple of years, but it's increasing peace every step of the way.
Mm. You mentioned in your book that many people with terminal illnesses come to the same understanding kind of on their own. Mm-hmm. Can you explain how that process, how that happens?
Well, my best guess about why it happens and how it happens is that, when we're very little, when we're young children, babies and young children, we are automatically our essential self. There's no other way around it. Mm-hmm. Who we are and our essential self is one and the same. And then as our thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, as it matures over time when we're young, because when we're born, the prefrontal cortex, again, the thinking brain, the personality part of the brain, is pretty much offline. And as it matures, our sense of self, or the sense of me-ness or I-ness, gets more and more complex. Mm-hmm. And for every step of the way that it gets more complex, we turn the spotlight of our attention more and more to the world outside of us. Our caregivers, then when we're older, our friends, our schools, our teachers.
Society
bosses,
pressures, yeah.
Right, society pressures. Our attention is more and more glued to that.
Yeah.
I call that the personality that develops to fit in and feel safe and survive. I call that the false self. Now, what happens, my sense is, with people that have been given a very serious, medical diagnosis that may indicate that their lives may be cut short, or people that have been in terrible accidents, car accidents or natural disasters or war. It's a part of the mind cuts through all the layers of the onion that we've developed to fit in, in our lives. It cuts right to the quick. And they're right back where they were, the essential self. So there's this dawning awareness, oh my God, how I've been living my life for the past however many years, that's not who I really am. Who really am I? And what is it that I really want to do in this world, before I go? So there's the stuff that was the false self, sometimes it's instantly, sometimes it's a little bit longer, but the whole process of reattuning to who we really are becomes of paramount importance. And people that have been in near, close to death experiences in war or accidents or whatever, very similar. When they describe that, that whole process of their life passing before their eyes. So many of those people, when the accident or the injury or whatever is over, or the war is over or whatever, they're left with, wow, a new lease on life as far as looking at what's important to me and what's not at the core, not through the personality level, which is all about fitting in and surviving and thriving, but more going back to that core self, the essential self. That becomes of paramount importance.
That's very interesting. What are some of the benefits, just to tie it all up, Dr. Uram, what are some of the benefits in reaching your essential self? I know what you talked about, the increasing sense of well-being and inner stillness, this inner peace, and connecting with others and loving yourself a little more. Is there anything that specifically that you want the listeners to go away with this essential living?
Yeah, so that if you try it, if you reconnect, very often meditators reconnect with the essential self. That the people that do reconnect with the essential self, the day-to-day, moment-to-moment living, even when there's a lot of stress around you, because you're still going to be the same person in the same job with the same family, but it's all experienced at a much more profoundly peaceful, loving, fun, connected. The moment-to-moment experience of life becomes so much nicer, so much nicer. So you can be living in an insane world and be completely at peace and happiness, regardless of stuff going on around you.
This sounds like a wonderful book and a wonderful read that I think everyone needs to read to really find out where they are and to become more of themselves. Is there a website that we can have from you, Dr. Uram, to get this book, access to it? Or
so the publishers, HCI, they sell the book.
Okay.
I hope you have that there. Do you have that website there? I think it's hcibooks.com, but I'm not positive.
Yes, hcibooks.com. I do have that. Yes.
Yeah, and Amazon carries the book.
Okay.
And, they're pretty much anywhere you normally get books.
Okay.
You can get this book.
And the title of the book, again, is Essential Living, A Guide to Having Happiness and Peace by Reclaiming Your Essential Selves. So we're just going to close up. We want to thank you, our guest, Dr. Shelley Uram, for being with us today. And we want to thank you for listening to Your Family's Health. This is Dr. Cook-Garard.
This brings an end to another edition of Your Family's Health. Joan Buckley and Jeanine Cook-Garard are professors of nursing at Nassau Community College. Your comments are always welcome by emailing whpc@ncc.edu. This program was produced at the studios of 90.3 WHPC on the campus of Nassau Community College. Podcasts of the show are available on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker.com. Join us again next week for another edition of Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.